The story of Atlantis is not just about a submerged city, but a myth intermingling with history and speculative theories. It has intrigued researchers for centuries, inspired explorers, and given birth to many theories. Whether this place was a civilization destroyed by catastrophe or simply a tale created for philosophical purposes. Examining ancient texts, geological data, and historical interpretations could provide some answers. The story of Atlantis was first introduced in the work of ancient Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BCE, especially in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. Plato described Atlantis as an island civilization beyond the Pillars of Hercules, now known as the Strait of Gibraltar. This city, according to him, was a wealthy and powerful civilization with remarkable achievements in architecture, engineering, and governance. They had supposedly conquered lands all the way to Egypt and parts of Europe. However, despite their accomplishments, the Atlanteans eventually fell due to moral and ethical decline. According to Plato, the pride of the Atlanteans angered the gods, who punished them with violent earthquakes and floods, sinking the island in a single day and night. Since Plato's work is the only primary source that describes Atlantis, scholars debate its authenticity. For one, it is not mentioned in any other ancient Greek texts, even by Plato's contemporaries. As such, many consider it a fictional creation, a parable illustrating his ideal of philosophical thought. In Plato's works, Atlantis was a moral fable, symbolizing the decline of invincible power. It was used in contrast to his vision of a perfect state, which might be seen as Athens, provided it resisted greed and ambition. The story of Atlantis survived partly because the Middle Ages overlooked many ancient texts. Interest in Atlantis was revived during the Renaissance when European scholars returned to Greek literature. The story gained new life in the 19th century when an American congressman and amateur historian, Ignatius L. Donnelly, published the book Atlantis, The Antediluvian World in 1882. He believed that Atlantis was not just a myth, but an actual place that influenced ancient civilizations. His work, although lacking any evidence, became the foundation for modern fascination with Atlantis and sparked waves of speculation and pseudo-historical theories. In fact, none of Donnelly's ideas were new. He heavily based his ideas on diffusionism, the belief that all great cultural achievements originated from one source. Donnelly suggested that the architectural and technological feats of ancient Egyptians, Mayans, and other civilizations could trace back to Atlantean knowledge. At one point, Donnelly even claimed that survivors from Atlantis migrated after its destruction, spreading their advanced knowledge. While appealing, this hypothesis was unsupported by evidence and dismissed by academics. People like Charles Darwin read his work and were unimpressed, calling it highly speculative. The legend of Atlantis has also been associated with several real-world locations. Among the more popular theories is a link to the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete and nearby Thera, now known as Santorini. This was an advanced maritime civilization that flourished from around 3000 BCE to 1100 BCE. They developed complex plumbing systems, multi-story buildings, and sophisticated social structures. The civilization, unfortunately, ended suddenly, possibly due to the volcanic eruption of Thera around 1600 BCE. This eruption caused massive tsunamis and widespread destruction in the region. Supporters of the Minoan hypothesis note similarities to Plato's account of Atlantis's sudden sinking. Adding to the mystery, underwater structures like the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, discovered in 1968, have fueled modern imagination. An underwater rock formation made of rectangular limestone blocks initially thrilled enthusiasts who thought it might be part of Atlantis. However, further studies suggest these rocks are naturally shaped due to geological processes. In fact, the fascination with Bimini Road shows how deeply the Atlantis legend has entered fantasy, with many interpretations going well beyond what the evidence supports. Another currently popular theory places Atlantis off the coast of modern Antarctica. Its proponents suggest that Earth's crust shifted, moving the continent to the South Pole and covering it with ice. While intriguing, this theory lacks the geological evidence for such a dramatic event and significantly differs from Plato's clear geographic clues, which suggest Atlantis was in the Atlantic beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Some scholars believe the story of Atlantis may have been inspired by real catastrophic flooding from the ancient world. For example, one major flood was the breach of the natural barrier at the Bosporus, which flooded the Black Sea basin around 5600 BCE. This flood could be a general basis for many Near Eastern flood legends and might have influenced later accounts, including Plato's. Further geological and oceanographic studies have completely ruled out the belief in a sunken continent in the Atlantic. The theory of plate tectonics, which describes the movement of Earth's continents, makes it highly unlikely that a large landmass existed and then disappeared into the ocean. More recently, Ken Feder, an archaeologist and author of Encyclopedia of Dubious Archaeology, stated that over time, the Atlantic seafloor has expanded rather than contracted, making a sunken continent improbable. Another reason to believe Atlantis was only fiction is the absence of tectonic activity capable of sinking an island. The story of Atlantis contains many elements found in allegorical tales from ancient literature. Many of Plato's moral and philosophical ideas were expressed through dialogue and storytelling, blending reality with myth. For example, Homer's Iliad, long thought to be a mix of history and legend, describes the city of Troy. Not until Heinrich Schliemann's excavations in the 1870s was the real city of Troy discovered, giving hope that Atlantis could be real too. However, unlike Troy, no archaeological evidence has yet surfaced to support Atlantis. Figures like Edgar Cayce, a mystic known as the Sleeping Prophet, kept the legend of Atlantis alive in public consciousness. Early in the 20th century, Cayce claimed that Atlantis would be rediscovered and that many of its citizens had been reincarnated. Despite dozens of predictions, including one that Atlantis would be found in 1969, none came true, yet his work continued to fuel public interest. Other authors, such as Helena Blavatsky, placed Atlantis within an occult worldview as a technologically advanced society with secret knowledge. The search for Atlantis still fascinates modern explorers. Advances in sonar mapping and deep-sea exploration have allowed researchers to scan large areas of the ocean floor. Unsurprisingly, several underwater ruins off the coasts of Malta, India, and Cuba, among others, have not been proven to be Atlantis. The lack of tangible discoveries supports what most scholars believe, that the story is a long allegory rather than a historical account. While Plato's tale may be rooted in fiction, its lasting effects have echoed for centuries. The allure of Atlantis reminds humanity of a deep desire to learn about lost knowledge from a legendary civilization that achieved greatness only to fall to its own flaws. The search for Atlantis reflects greater themes: power, morality, and the eventual fate that awaits all human achievement. Whether Atlantis existed as more than an allegory, the search for its truth has captured imaginations. Myths, theories, and quests surround the story of Atlantis from every angle. Its fall due to hubris can be seen as a warning, but Atlantis has remained a symbol of mystery throughout history. The story urges us to consider the ambitions of civilization and the lessons they hold. With no definitive evidence, Atlantis exists between legend and reality, sparking debates that are ultimately about not where Atlantis was, but why it captivates us so strongly. Thanks for watching. What is your theory behind the story of Atlantis? Did it exist, or was it just a tale? Leave your thoughts in the comment box below. If you liked this video, then like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as more engaging videos are coming your way. Catch you in the next one.